Here's what went down Monday, November 24, 2025, on Beyond the Gates when Kat proved herself a jive turkey about Thanksgiving. Elon and Jacob argued over setting another place for Isaiah, and the Dupree women didn't anticipate a changing guest list. On Beyond the Gates, Danny met with Anita and Nicole at the country club and gushed about her trip to Los Angeles. Her mom and sister were surprised that Danny hadn't journeyed there for her Forrester Creations shoot. Anita remembered when Eric Forrester had fitted her with a gown for the Soul Train Awards. Danny relayed how Andre hadn't wanted to model and had only agreed to for her benefit, adding that she'd turned the gig down to put her marriage first. Anita was concerned that Danny was shelving modeling for the sake of a husband, as she had with Bill, but Danny clarified that she had made her own choice this time, unlike when she had followed Bill's implied directive to cast herself as the perfect wife. Nicole especially was amazed when Danny announced that she had fallen in love with Andre. Danny admitted that she had convinced herself that Andre was only a friend with benefits, but she had warmed to him because he was happy with her being her authentic self. She thought her heart had been forever broken after Bill had left her, yet Andre's friendship had been healing. Anita said that liking one's partner was the glue that held a relationship together. Ted visited Kat to invite her to Thanksgiving with him and Eva. Kat replied that it wasn't a good idea to sit her across from Eva with a knife in her hand. Ted hoped that his daughters being able to function for one dinner would lead to them putting their animosity aside, but Kat labeled her father selfish for placing what he wanted over her feelings. Kat felt that ever since it came out that Eva was also Ted's daughter, she had come second to Ted, and she feared that she would rank as such until Ted made it up to Eva for not being there while Eva was growing up. After Kat confessed that the situation had destroyed her, she unequivocally turned down Ted's offer. Kat ran into Nicole at the country club and was dismayed when her mother agreed that Kat sharing the holiday with Ted and Eva would go a long way toward healing the rifts. Nicole wasn't crazy about the situation but thought it best to adjust. Kat interpreted this as Nicole kicking her out of the family dinner and took off. Bill brought Tamaz to the club. The junior lawyer was nervous when his boss wanted to talk about his future. However, Bill was impressed with how Tamaz had filled in for him while he'd been hospitalized with his stroke, and while he was down for the count over Chelsea's kidnapping. Also praising Tamaz's work on the committee that had been established following the sexual harassment suit against the firm, Bill announced that he and Haley were going to vacation in St. Bart's for a few weeks, and that he again wanted to install Tamaz in his place. Tamaz was happy to oblige and pleased at Bill indicating that Tamaz was on his way to making partner, though he was thrown when Bill started talking about Tamaz sorting out his personal life. Tamaz acknowledged that he and Kat had had their ups and downs. Bill pointed out that especially after the inappropriate behavior of Mike Davis, he wanted his outfit to have a reputation of lawyers being stable and in committed relationships. Bill owned that he lived in a glass house by example of his affair with Haley, but it was all the more reason he wanted to make sure his underlings didn't repeat his mistakes. Bill stopped by the Dupree women's table under the pretext of wanting to continue his conversation with Danny about Winterfest. Anita sneered that Bill was only co-hosting because Danny wanted him there. Bill was glad Danny hadn't given that honor to Andre. Bill grudgingly asked how Danny's honeymoon had been, but when she went on about how happy she was, he did a silent burn. Tamaz found Kat in the lobby where she explained her dilemma about Eva and Thanksgiving. However, Kat lied that she'd been forced into a situation where she had to choose between her parents. "Mom is used to spending Thanksgiving with me," she cooed. Tamaz's solution was for Kat to skip both celebrations and away with him to a bed and breakfast in Chesapeake Bay. Kat was grateful that someone wanted to be with her and only her. Tamaz remarked that everyone should know they were getting serious. At Uptown, Leslie and Eva took a table and discussed how Thanksgiving had always been a mother-daughter thing with them, even when Alan had been alive. Eva wanted to once again celebrate with Leslie, though Eva was surprised that neither Ted nor Martin, both of whom had been adamant about Eva being a member of their family, had extended an invitation themselves. Later, Eva met Isaiah at the hospital cafeteria, where they pondered what would have happened if Leslie's call about Peaches hadn't kept them from sharing their second kiss. Eva was concerned that if Peaches died, Leslie's obsession with Ted would only intensify. Eva called it laying it on thick when Isaiah deemed her incredibly special and the woman of his dreams. He wanted to prove to her that his declarations were sincere. But before they could smooch again, Ted arrived and saw them. Ted remembered Isaiah as the troublemaker who had caused a scene at Jacob and Naomi's wedding. Eva informed her father that Isaiah now had a good job and that he had become a good friend. Ted accepted this and took Eva aside to invite her to Thanksgiving, being honest that Kat, while having rejected the same summons, could still change her mind and show up. Eva reluctantly turned Ted down herself, maintaining that she couldn't abandon Leslie on the holiday. She soon thought back to when Leslie had thrown her out of their apartment because of Eva supposedly choosing Ted over her. At the police station, Elon and Marcel wanted to alter stats in a report to the mayor so that it wouldn't be discovered they'd made less arrests than the previous year. Jacob piped up about one particular case, the one against Leslie Thomas, where not enough evidence had been found surrounding her attacks on Laura Peterson to obtain a conviction. Marcel griped that Jacob had been all right with cases that had turned out in the Dupree's favor. You'd know more about that, Jacob snarked. Elon didn't want Jacob criticizing the decorated Marcel, but Jacob observed that Marcel retire on a high note by bringing more perps to justice. Marcel growled that he didn't need a life coach and stalked out. Jacob and Elon then discussed Isaiah. Though Jacob saw Isaiah turning his life around as a sign of hope toward family unity, Elon couldn't let go of Isaiah making no moves on his own to reconnect, or of how the teenaged Isaiah had purposely stirred up trouble just to embarrass him. Elon scoffed that Isaiah didn't want to spend Thanksgiving at home, after which Jacob said that he and Naomi would be there following a pre-dinner with the Duprees. Father and son talked about how Jacob's mom, Darlene, still cooked as if the whole family would be dining, and how Jacob's other brother, Luke, couldn't join them because he couldn't get away from the Detroit PD. Elon complained that Isaiah was too busy with his new life to even reach out to his mother, but Jacob countered that Isaiah wouldn't have moved back to DC if he didn't want to be closer to the family. Jacob felt that Elon had always raised him up as his golden child. Elon said he had only been hard on his sons because the world don't cut black boys any slack. When Elon revealed that he was proud of both Jacob and Luke, Jacob said it hadn't always felt like it. Elon grumbled and took his leave. Isaiah got a call from Jacob telling his brother that his Thanksgiving would consist of takeout at home. Jacob wanted Isaiah to join the family, but Isaiah didn't want to subject their mother to another Elon/Isaiah argument. The brothers laughed about how Darlene didn't like her homemade biscuits being thrown across the room. Jacob offered Isaiah another option, sharing a meal with him and Naomi and the Duprees. Isaiah didn't want to impose, but he agreed to think about it. Eva rejoined Isaiah, and they wondered if fate was conspiring to keep them from going on a real date. Smiling that the anticipation only made things hotter, Eva agreed to get together with Isaiah after the holiday and compare notes on their dinners with their families. The two then shared their second, uninterrupted kiss. Leslie had stayed behind at Uptown and was enjoying a drink when Marcel approached her. He called her a pretty lady and appeared to be interested in her, but when her reaction was tepid, he conceded that he was coming on too strong. Leslie finally remembered that Marcel was a cop. "Is that a problem?" he asked. Eventually, Marcel bought Leslie a drink, saying that she looked like trouble. Leslie stated that she simply went after what she wanted, which another cop, Jacob, didn't like. Marcel divulged that Jacob was his ex-partner, branding the detective self-righteous. Leslie listened as Marcel began lamenting how he and his wife did nothing but fight, and how he would divorce her if he wasn't afraid she would be entitled to half of his retirement benefits, including his beloved boat. Leslie compared Marcel's wife to another judgmental shrew she knew who had driven her husband away, then purred to Marcel that his wife would be shocked if he showed up with another lady on his arm. Since Leslie had already mentioned the doctor she was interested in, Marcel tried to square that with Leslie's flirtations. Leslie defined what she had with Ted as a situationship, and established that until such time he committed to her, she was a free agent. Just then, Ted entered the bar and saw Leslie and Marcel together. "What you do now?" Ted later asked the approaching Leslie, knowing that Marcel was an officer of the law. Leslie apologized for making Ted jealous, though he was emphatic that Leslie's personal life was her own business. Rather, Ted wanted to be with Eva for Thanksgiving, and aware that Eva didn't want to leave Leslie alone for the holiday, he pitched the idea that he spend it with both Eva and Leslie, who accepted his invitation. Beyond the Gates airs weekdays on CBS and streams on Paramount+. There will be an all-new episode tomorrow, but Wednesday and Thursday will see reruns, and the show is preempted entirely on Friday. New episodes resume Monday, December 1.